Hey everyone, my name's April. Welcome back to my channel. I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit. I feel like there is something in my eye, like right here or something like that. When I try to smile, it like I can feel something. I don't wear contacts. I don't know what it is. I just wanted to make a video because I feel like it's been a little too long since I've made my last video. I just haven't had the time. Unfortunately, I've been anxious. I've been sick with a cold. You can probably still hear it in my voice. I am sucking on a lozenge right now to try to soothe my voice. But I wanted to put out a little video talking about the books that I've read recently. Some of the books that I want to discuss, I have discussed in my mid-year freakout video. But I also want to go into some of the TV shows and the movies that I've watched recently. So think of this video as a kind of overview of what I have consumed for the past couple of months or like recently, and I just want to get my thoughts of them out there. I will start off with the books that I've read recently, get that out of the way, and then I'll talk about TVs and movies later on. I'll start off with some of the books that I discussed again in my mid-year freakout tag. One of the books that I read recently was Witchcraft or Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This was the first Grady Hendrix books that I had ever read, and I liked it. It was like okay. I rated it like a 5. No, not a 5. Whoa. I rated it a 3-star because it was a decent story. The book itself is set in the 70s and it follows a group of teenage pregnant girls who are sent to this boarding house in order to live out their pregnancy, in order to then give their babies up for adoption without bringing any sort of shame onto their family or their hometown or anything like that. I will admit that I was like a little bit disappointed in this book, but I think it's like a little bit stupid of me to be disappointed. There was a scene like midway through the book that was giving body horror. So I thought that the book was going to go down a more kind of demonic possession horror type vibe. But instead, I think I should have just looked at the title of the book. It says that it's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. If I put 2 and 2 together, hello, it's going to be about witches. And I wasn't like super excited about like the concept of witches or whatever. Like I didn't find that super duper scary. That was like a little bit disappointing to me. I thought it would be like a lot more horrifying. Like I said, this was my first Grady Hendrix book. I think that I have seen like some, I guess, criticisms of his writing because it seems to be a lot of suffering for female characters, which feels like a little bit weird for a man to just be writing about, but I don't know. The next book that I read is called Julie Chan is Dead by Liann Zhang. This book is about 2 identical twins who are orphaned when they're around 4 years old and they're separated by adoption. Julie Chan is adopted by their abusive aunt, and Chloe is adopted into the wealthy Van Heusen family, and Chloe is able to use that wealth in order to become a famous New York influencer. One night, Chloe overdoses in her luxury apartment in New York, and Julie is the one to find her body, and she reports it to the police, and the police assume that the body is of Julie Chan, and Julie Chan, who is still alive, doesn't do anything to correct them. So Julie basically assumes Chloe's identity and slips into her sort of luxury New York influencer life. I enjoyed this book. This was like a 4-star read for me. I thought that the story was really interesting. Going into it, I was half expecting something along the lines of like Yellowface, in that way that you are kind of spending part of the book waiting for the penny to drop, so to speak. I was expecting the main source of tension in the book to be, I guess, that fear of being found out. And that fear of being found out is definitely an aspect of the book, but it's not the main, I guess, conflict within the book itself. It gets a whole lot more interesting and it goes down like a path that I did not expect, but I thought it was very well done. Finishing up a recap of the books that I've read that I specifically mentioned in my mid-year freakout tag, I do have But Won't I Miss Me by Tiffany Tsao. I will say that this book is like a little bit high concept, so I will just read the blurb. Set in an alternate reality where pregnancy endows women with exceptional powers, one new mother uncovers terrifying truths about herself and life in this philosophical and propulsive tale of a woman and a mother in crisis. Basically, in this world, a pregnant person will give birth to their baby, but they'll also give birth to a new version of themselves. This new version is basically like a little slug that grows out of you, it'll grow in the womb with your baby. So they'll see it on the ultrasounds, they'll see your baby, and they'll see the new you that's growing inside of you. It's like a slug comes out of you at the same time as the birth, and it rapidly grows into a new version of you. And this new version of you then eats the old version of you. And after Googling it, I found out that the term for this is called matrophagy. Ooh, apparently there'll be like some spiders and I think like a type of scorpion. I'm not going to put pictures of them up on the screen because that's scary. Insects will do this where they will have the newborn babies basically eat the mother's body as a really nourishing kind of first meal. Anyway, that's what happens in this book. You become you eat the old version of yourself and you become that new version. This new version of you like basically has the same memories as you. It is essentially you, but it's better, it's stronger, it's faster, it has more energy, and it's essentially like a superhuman version of yourself in order to like raise this baby, and you have like this additional strength for at least 2 years after the birth of your child. In this book, we follow our main character Vivi, who had gone through this rebirth process, but something must have gone wrong during the rebirth because for some reason she does not have the additional strength. She does not have the speed, the energy. She is injured. She has a shoulder injury from carrying around her baby all the time. And it's just something that people in this world aren't used to. It's not, I guess, normal for her to be experiencing these sort of like downsides of the pregnancy. And so, I don't know, I thought it was like such an interesting kind of concept, or like an interesting way to kind of view pregnancy and becoming a parent, because like I kind of think about this a lot. I'm 31 years old. I know, stop. I don't look a day over 24. I don't look a day over 24, right? Like I don't have kids. I'm not even sure if I want to have kids or if I ever will have kids, but like if I did have kids, wouldn't I miss the version of me before I had kids, like when I was my own person, without sharing my body and my space and my mind with like the needs of a new person's life? Like, won't I miss that version of me before having a baby? Like, I don't know. I thought this book was really cool, and I thought the concept of it was really cool to sort of look at these sort of real philosophical questions about motherhood, parenthood, being a person in this world kind of thing. The next book that I read, it's technically an omnibus, so like a collection of short stories, but it was Wool by Hugh Howey. Like I said, it's a bunch of short stories that are set in this dystopian world where the Earth's surface is uninhabitable. Apparently it's uninhabitable. And so a whole society of people live in these underground silos. This is the book that the Apple TV show is adapted from. And so, like, I haven't watched the show yet, but I do want to watch the show. I believe that, like, the first 3 seasons are basically the whole of book 1. There are, like, 2 other books in this series, or I'm not sure if they're properly books or if they're, like, just kind of collections again of short stories, but I do want to get into those ones. I think it's, like, Rust and something else is the next books. I do want to continue the series eventually. The next book that I read was Dissection of a Murder by Joe Murray. This is about a man who's on trial for allegedly murdering a well-known, well-respected judge, and we follow the young lawyer who is tasked with defending him. But the prosecuting lawyer is her own husband. The prosecuting lawyer is the defendant lawyer's husband, okay? There's a man on trial. He's specifically requested for this young woman lawyer to represent him. And the Crown prosecution, the state basically who is prosecuting them, is that woman's husband. I liked the book for like the basic mystery and like the thriller of it or whatever. However, I am very hung up on the fact that like, is this not a conflict of interest? If I was on trial for something and my lawyer was married to the guy who is prosecuting me, I'd be like, hello, what is happening? What are we talking about? I can suspend disbelief enough to think that if a murder takes place, someone is going to be completely okay mentally with trying to conceal that murder to try to get away with it, sure, I can suspend my disbelief enough to think that someone is going to be okay with that without that weighing heavily on their soul, without breaking down every day and realizing, oh my God, I killed a person. I can act normal while deep down I know that I killed a person. Sure, whatever. But I kind of have a hard time in believing in a world where one single court trial can have the two opposing lawyers in it be married to each other and have that not be something that is like a conflict of interest, and have either party say, excuse me, hello, like, is that not going to cause maybe not so much like a mistrial, but is that not going to be opening yourself up for an appeal, or like the right to appeal if you think that you did not have adequate counsel because of that conflict of interest? Like, you can say that you're going to be like professional and act with integrity and everything like that, but like, you guys are living in the same house. Like, I know that it's supposed to be fiction, but like, damn, it's not fantasy. Shouldn't there be some kind of realism, I guess, in something that's supposed to be like a legal murder trial? I don't know. It was interesting, entertaining, but I didn't think it was great or anything like that. I gave it just like a 3-star because it was a solid, entertaining story. And then lastly, for the books that I read Molka by Monika Kim. This is one of the books that I mentioned in my mid-year freakout tag. Sorry to keep bringing up that video. It was a book that had been released this year that I felt as if I should get around to finally reading. I had read Monika Kim's debut that came out last year or the year before. I read it last year at least. When I read The Eyes Are the Best Part, it was okay. I liked it, but I felt as if the ending was pretty weak. Unfortunately, I kind of have the same opinion about Molka. The term Molka is apparently the Korean term for like hidden camera footage, usually of a sexually exploitative nature. And so in this book, we follow our main character who is a victim of these sort of hidden cameras on multiple accounts. So she's filmed by her boyfriend and has that footage leaked online. And she also has footage of her using like the bathrooms at work. She's basically experiencing multiple counts of this type of exploitation. I felt like the story itself was believable because I do know that these cases do happen in Korea. I listen to Rotten Mango. I know about the awful things that happen in those like chat rooms and stuff like that of people sharing this footage. So that part of things was like, I guess, compelling part of the story because I do know that it is based on real cases. Again, the ending of the book, it felt quite rushed to sort of get us to where we wanted to be. I was hoping that it would be more of, I guess, a crazy vengeful woman type story, and we do get part of that when she's like trying to seek vengeance, seek blood for what she's been going through. But there was also like this paranormal element to the book, and I didn't appreciate. I felt like as if the paranormal element kind of felt out of place, and I don't like it when there are, I guess, visions or like ghosts, and that's basically just used as an easy way to show that someone is like mentally unstable. Like, oh, is it a hallucination or is it an actual ghost? Like, I don't love that side of things because I think that's kind of like a cheap way to express that someone is like maybe not in the right sort of perspective or seeing things through the right sort of lens. I don't know like exactly how I would have improved it. I think that the paranormal side of things, I didn't love it. I think it could have been stronger if it was just focusing on her having like I guess possibly either a skewed perspective on the situation. In this type of story, I don't need there to be a ghost in order for me to know that a character is going through a mental break. Like, hey, she's going through something pretty bad and she's starting to kill people. I think I understand that she's not mentally well. I also don't need to see a ghost for me to think, oh, I wonder if this woman's going through a little bit of a psychotic break right now. I think I can tell. That is it for the books. Like I said, I have been anxious. I've been sick. I've spent a lot of time in bed, rugged up. So I've also spent a fair bit of time watching TV. If I'm not watching Smosh videos on repeat or watching the same 4-hour H Bomber Guy video on repeat, then I've watched like some TV shows, okay? I watched 9 Perfect Strangers. It's not new by any means, but it was like new to me. It's a show that's adapted from a Liann Moriarty book and it's starring Nicole Kidman. I'm assuming after the success of the other big Liann Moriarty TV adaptation starring Nicole Kidman. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Big Little Lies. Yeah, I guess they decided this prints money, let's make 9 Perfect Strangers. It is basically about Nicole Kidman's character who runs like this wellness retreat. I watched season 1. It honestly had a stacked cast. It was like kind of crazy. Obviously we had Nicole Kidman, but there was also Melissa McCarthy, Michael Shannon, Samara Weaving, Luke Evans, my boy Jason Mendoza, aka Manny Jacinto. Asha Keddy was there. Regina Hall was in it. Like, it had a pretty stacked cast, to be honest. Nicole Kidman's character runs this wellness retreat in rural California, and these 9 perfect strangers come along to experience a special mushroom induced kind of enlightenment and emotional healing. Season 1, okay, it was good. However, there were some things that were quite distracting to me. I think it was so distractingly obvious that although this is supposed to be set in California, it, to me, was clearly not filmed there. They show establishing shots of beautiful rolling green hills, right? They show a beautiful big tree, beautiful banyan trees. They have plants with like kangaroo paw, which is like a specific type of like Australian shrub that looks like a kangaroo paw. It's a native flower. Like, these types of plants, they could be imported elsewhere. Maybe they were taken to California. I know that unfortunately the eucalyptus trees were taken to California, and that's, you know, a source of a lot of their bushfires over there. I go on IMDb, lo and behold, main filming locations, Sydney, Ballina, Byron Bay. I love being right. It not being filmed in California, whatever. It's just a set. Samara Weaving and Asha Keddy, I would say that some of the actors weren't great at accents. Asha Keddy, Samara Weaving, beautiful Australian actresses, right? Asha Keddy putting on an American accent felt so completely out of place. Samara Weaving as well, her accent would like slip on every couple of words, and she was trying to do like kind of like a Valley Girl type of influencer type accent, and hers was distractingly bad because I know that these women are Australian, and it's like I can see the Australianness in you just trying to slip out. What was annoying is that there were other, like, I guess, side characters who were working around the wellness retreat who were using their normal Australian accents. So it's like, if we are going to suspend our disbelief and believe that there are Australians working here, why can't there be Australians visiting here? Why does Asha Keddy and Samara Weaving need to have a distracting put on accent? Just let them talk normal, okay? Like, we can suspend our disbelief to believe that Luke Evans' Irish-ish kind of accent fits in here in California. Let them speak in their normal Australian voice. It's fine, okay? Look, I liked season 1 so much that I then watched season 2. Season 2 is like markedly different. It looks so much different. It looks dark. According to IMDb, they actually filmed on location in like Switzerland and places like that, but the color grading of season 2 is so dark and blue. I think the kind of color grading that it was, it made me assume that it wasn't filmed anywhere on location and it was just filmed on like a soundstage in Los Angeles or something like that. Like, when you do that kind of color grading, I think that everything is fake and I don't like it, okay? Again, it's the same sort of thing where it's like a wellness retreat. However, in season 2, it was like a little bit more like all of these characters were interlinked in a way, and I didn't love it. Sometimes I'll watch shows or read stories and like the characters will be interlinked in a way and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's cool. I really like it. But then there are other times, like in this show in season 2, where the characters were interlinked in a way where I'm like, this feels contrived. I am aware that I am watching a story. It doesn't feel like believable, I guess. Like, there are connections being made between characters which does not feel like an earned connection. It doesn't feel like a believable connection. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when I am made aware, if something snaps me out of it and I am made aware that I am watching TV, I am watching a show that has been written, I don't love it so much. I don't like my experience of like watching it or reading it, or like whatever the medium may be. If I'm aware that it is fiction, like I don't love it so much. And like, unfortunately, season 2, those plot points, those plot ties to each of those characters, it made me aware. Like, how many times can I say aware? Okay, it drew attention. It insists upon itself. It drew attention to itself, and I didn't love it. Lastly, I want to talk about the fact that I watched Sheep Detectives with my partner and his sister. We watched it as like a little family movie night in our house, right? I saw a lot of people say that like Sheep Detectives was a really good, heartwarming movie, and like, yeah, it was good. It was nice. I love sheep, you know. I thought it was really cute. I obviously loved the winter lamb. We were assigning attributes of like each of our cats to each of the sheep that were in the flock. Speaking of the flock, why were there sheep in this flock who had American accents? Again, I can suspend my disbelief to believe that there is going to be a talking sheep. A bunch of sheep that are like conscious. There are British sheep. Okay, cool. That's believable. We are in England. We are outside of an English village right now. There's a bunch of little sheep with English accents. There's an Irish sheep. Okay, yeah, that's believable. I'm sorry. What is Elaine doing here? What is freaking Walter White doing here? For me, it did not make sense. 1, that these would be sheep with American accents. 2, I don't like it that kind of like voice acting roles for animated characters, parts of like live action movies that need like some sort of animated voice. I don't like it that it is just going to, I guess, actors who are primarily TV and film, like live actors. I've heard someone else say this somewhere where it's like people are too scared to be like cringe to like put on a voice, and that's how we get someone like Chris Pratt just playing Chris Pratt as Mario. Like Super Mario isn't Super Mario, it's just Chris Pratt voicing Super Mario. If I think about it, was Julia Louis-Dreyfus really the best possible actor, voice actor, who would have been available to voice a sheep in this movie? No, I don't think that she was. And if she was supposed to be like the best voice actress, why is she not putting on a fucking British accent? Put on a fucking British accent so it makes sense. You are not supposed to be an American sheep. You are supposed to be a British sheep in England. You are in England. You're in an English village and you're supposed to have never left your farm before. Why do you have an American accent? Same with Bryan Cranston, okay? Why is Bryan Cranston playing the dark, moody sheep? No, we could have had it as like the dark, moody sheep. I want to say Idris Elba, but I'm not saying that because the sheep is black and he is a black man. I am saying this. I'm saying this because he was sexy. Hello, he was sexy. I'm saying Idris Elba because he was sexy in Zootopia when he was playing a bull, and that thing had big horns, and so that bull is kind of like similar to the Sebastian sheep here in Sheep Detectives. Sebastian has horns. Sebastian is also a black sheep. I think that could have been dark, sexy, moody with Idris Elba instead of Bryan Cranston. I love Malcolm in the Middle as much as the next guy. But what does Bryan Cranston know about voice acting? The movie was cute. I didn't cry. I figured out where the story was going to go like halfway through. And then my partner and his sister were like, oh my God, you totally guessed it. And I was like, yeah, because I laid out the clues. And I'm super duper smart. I don't know. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me. Leave me a comment down below if you have any thoughts on like the movies or the TVs or the books that I've watched or read or anything like that. Like, let me know any of your thoughts. And let me know if you like this kind of like overall catch up of all the stuff that I have consumed, all of the media that I've consumed recently, because I love watching stuff and I love doing stuff and I love talking. So if you enjoyed this type of video, please let me know. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.